Everyone, I'm not quite sure what happened there. My phone just like shut everything down. So that's fun. But anyway, where's up to? Yeah, so these moments of conscious co-creation when you're a wee babe in arms. Why are you shivering? It's okay. Are you cold? You need a jumper day? You are a bit cold. Okay, we'll get you a jumper in a few minutes. Hello everyone. I'm sorry. I know that somebody had commented right before my Instagram kind of just shut down. So do feel free to comment that again, as I didn't see it. So I apologise. So yes, talking about our first acts of co-creation as being acts of imagination with these, invisible friends, whatever you wanted to call them. And they got dismissed as, oh, it's just your imagination. But it's never just your imagination, is it? Like, for me, my imagination is how I first connected with the divine. It's how they reached me. It's how they, reach out to me still. It's, we talk about muses and like ancient Greece has the three muses, don't they? Hi everyone, hi. Has the three muses, and it's, imagination is one of the many ways that gods can reach us, and it does get put down to like, oh, it's just your imagination, like stop thinking about it, stop being whatever, it's just imagination. Nah, it's everything. Imagination is everything. Oh, hold on. It's okay. What's wrong? Do you want to come say hello? Would it make you feel better to be adored by people? Come hear them. Come and get your adoration. Here we go. Feel better. People can admire you. You've got makeup on you. There you go. Okay. Good girl. It's okay. So that was two of the ways that for me imagination is a very important act of spirituality. Now let me find my next pieces of makeup, and then I just said connection between my dream world and imagination is helpful in some moments. Absolutely, it's so true. Yeah, your dreamscape, your dream world, whatever you believe dreams to be. Like for me, I personally believe, a lot of my dreams are me just astral projecting around the cosmos and going where I kind of need to go. But it's, I've got my mascara. But yeah, it is such an important landscape for the dream world, whether it's, you think dreams are in the more traditional way of like, oh, it's just my mind processing things. That still teaches you so much about your psyche, about where you're at emotionally. Like it can teach you so much, and it is a very vast spiritual world, the dream one. So that's a really good point. Thank you for that. So then the next note that I took is that there is truth in imagination. So this kind of pigtails off the of what I was just talking about, as in, like some parents put those moments down to like, oh, it's just your imagination, like don't worry about it, whatever, like just forget about it. But imagination being a very real thing. I don't know much about quantum physics, but what I do know about it is that what we think, what we dream, if we dream and think it enough, it is a reality somewhere in the cosmos. There's the I like to believe in the, what's it called? Is it the bubble universe theory? That like there's multiple big bangs happening all the time and they're creating different universes. So when one universe collapses, it like pops up somewhere else, and like, yes, it won't be the exact same, but it almost like parallel universes, but a bit more sporadic. I'm sure the wider cosmos has a rhyme or reason for it, but that's not my business to know. But imagination is a real, almost tangible thing. When we imagine something, when we dream something, it is being created somewhere in the great grand big scheme of things, and that's how it can help us to manifest as well. This is quickly turning into like a manifestation 101 talk, and I didn't mean that whatsoever, but it's when that's not to say every single bad thought you have is going to come true. I don't want to like fearmonger you there. Arguments either way. But what I'm talking about is when we're using our imagination for good, as it were. So like me being, I don't know, 8, 9 years old in math class, not wanting to be there whatsoever, and using that time to daydream, to imagine, to create unknowingly a life for myself that I wanted here in Cornwall. That was all done through imagination. So every time that I sat there and thought, oh, I would have more freckles if I lived in Cornwall, I'd spend more time at the beach, I would do this, I would do that, I would be this person who was still me but slightly different. It would be like Cornish version of me. Every time I thought about her, I dropped into her energy, I created her, I manifested her in some far off reaches in a parallel universe somewhere. My thought created her. She was there living her dream life in Cornwall. And then the journey was bringing those two, me and that version of myself, together across time and space, across different timelines, different energies, different realms, bringing the two together. And that's how I ended up here in my little house in Cornwall, being that Cornish version of me. So imagination is a very real thing that has real results. If we sit there for, I don't know, however long in a day, 30 minutes every day, and imagine, no pressure on it, no, putting no pressure on it, putting no expectations, but just imagining, ruminating, fleshing out that imagination, not just saying, oh, I imagine if I did this, I would be that. Flesh it out, like build that dream, build that daydream, build the imagination. There was a meditation I did years ago, and I can't remember what the actual meditation itself was about, but she spoke about, the woman leading it, she spoke about how, okay, picture a room, picture a place, whatever, and now turn up the volume to 10, make the sound a lot of sound, okay, turn the saturation up to 10, make all the colours more vibrant, make, the flesh it out so it's 3D, turn everything on this screen, on this board in front of you, max it out so that it's fleshed out, it's real. And that's always stuck with me. Projecting yourself with imagination. But absolutely, I think a lot of us who are kind of have the skill of astral projection and soul traveling, it starts with imagination. It's, you can't tell me that I did not astral project to Cornwall in the middle of maths class sometimes. Absolutely I did. Like, I could feel the sand beneath my feet. I could hear the ocean. I could feel the ocean lapping at my ankles. I could feel the sun on my skin. Like, it was an absolute, I was there. There was still a part of like my physical self was in maths class. I presume I looked like I was paying somewhat attention because I don't ever remember getting called out on it. But yeah, it is such a real thing, and it has real effects on your reality. Sometimes you have to give it time. So like, for example, if we look at human body, human design charts and stuff, I'm a projector. So that's the one where to manifest, all we have to do apparently is relax and play and, have our offerings, have our services kind of there ready. And then we get invited by people. So, I will never hunt you down in DMs and be like, book me now. No. If you know when you want to work with me, and that's how I manifest things. It's just, the universe, it's never me. I'm creating the space for the invitation. And for me, that's where imagination comes in the most with it, because it's, I have to become that version of myself that gets the invitation to go onto that particular podcast. Who is that version of me? Cool. I've become that. I am that. I'll just wait for the invitation now. I'll make myself known to them. I'll do everything that I can. But it's, they will know, whoever, whether you want to work with me as a client or collab, whatever, people know when the time is to work with me. And it always comes out. So it's that's one of the ways that imagination can really help us to, look more into quantum physics, because it's not my forte per se. Do you know who is amazing with quantum physics and processing? Is Dawn Kinsella. If you can go and find the wonderful, the amazing, the incredible Dawn Kinsella on she's got a couple of accounts. If you find her at Sacred Celebrants Academy on here, really, really beautiful, beautiful insights from Dawn there about quantum physics and how that is a part of priestessing or, you know, spiritual life in general. So do find her. She's much more of an expert in that field than me. But yeah, so imagination is the discovery of self and of the spiritual world, and it's also, you are so tiny, and it's also, there's truth, there's physical, tangible truth in imagination. So I'm trying to think about what eye look I want to do. I kind of can't be bothered. Cool tones, warm tones. Let's go warm tones. And then the final note that I've got written down is, cannot read my writing, how the divine access you is your creativity. So when the divine, this is kind of going back to what I was talking about before, like with the Greek muses, every culture has their own equivalent of the muse. I think generally it just gets called like you know, divine inspiration these days. You could kind of call it what you want in theory. And yeah, it's the idea that our creativity, our imagination is the foundation of our creativity. We can't create masterpieces, we can't bake cakes, we can't make artwork, we can't write beautiful moving poetry, we can't do all these creative endeavours without imagination. And I think, and that is such an important baseline that I think kind of goes unnoticed. It's quite like an unconscious thing, that creativity begins with there. And for many of us, again, like I was saying at the very beginning, a lot of creative folks are spiritual in nature, whether they would call themselves that or not. Some might be like hyper-religious, some might be atheists, but come out with the most like philosophical or inspiring religious things ever. You know, a lot of us creative folk are very spiritual in nature and is like intrinsic in us. And that is because, well, for me anyway, my experience of it is that our creativity is a way that we channel, whether you consider yourself an oracle or not. Being creative is an act of channeling, is an act of being an oracular priestess or priest, whatever you want to be. Because there is such a divine thing, like, you know, the gods create, we create. There is such a divine link between what the gods and goddesses, the divine realm do, and what we do. Whether it's, you know, creating a child with your body or with your partner, whether it's creating artwork, whatever, however you create, that is an act of divine inspiration. And divine imagination is much, this is getting washed anyway, don't worry. That is such a divine act of imagination that it's, yeah, our imagination is so intrinsic and so important to our spirituality, to our spiritual nature. Because for me, when I've been, I don't know if anybody else, I presume many of you will resonate with this, but whenever I've had depression, it always makes me feel worse because it's, oh, well, the gods aren't talking to me anymore. The gods have forgotten me. They've lost my address. Did they even exist? They don't care. Like I can't sometimes hear them anymore when I've had depression. And I know, like, the healthy part of my brain knows it's just, yeah, because if you were depressed and like hearing the gods as loudly as you usually do, that would be an awful lot to deal with. Whereas, yeah, you have to kind of shut down a little bit from them. And I never used to really give myself the grace of, like, just chill out, that's all it is, they'll come back. So in those moments where in my head, like, well, they've forgotten I exist and I've devoted my whole life to them, oh my God, it's a whole big existential crisis that doesn't need to happen whatsoever. It's always been through my imagination that the gods have come back to me. They never left at all, but this is how they came back to me. My first experience of them again, the way that I would allow them back in to access me again, was through my imagination. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I think we pin imagination down to, but it's not real. It's make-believe. It's just you thinking what you want to think or thinking what you ought to think or whatever.